What's the difference between a state champion weightlifter and a regional qualifier? In episode 56 of the Last Set Best Set podcast, we interview three-time Team USA coach Aaron Paille about the technique, programming, and mindset that he uses to build multiple state and national champions. And if you love learning about Olympic weightlifting, getting strong, and building muscle, then make sure to subscribe. Welcome back to the Last Set Best Set podcast. I'm Coach Brian. I'm the owner of Big Ben Strength, and I've been teaching Olympic lifting for 11 years now.
And I'm Coach Calvin. I'm current captain of Lindenwood University's Olympic weightlifting program, as well as a coach through Big Ben Strength.
And today we've got a guest for you guys, Coach Aaron Paille. He's the head coach at North Bay Haven Weightlifting. He is also a three-time Team USA weightlifting coach and the owner of Full Send Ollie. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
And thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. For anybody who doesn't know, Aaron's actually a longtime friend of the pod. You were actually on a portion of an episode that we did about a year ago talking about high school weightlifting. We're going to dive a little deeper into high school weightlifting today. So first thing I wanted to ask you is, you have coached athletes at the state level, the national level, and the international level. Let's focus in on high school weightlifting first. What is the difference that you see between an athlete who maybe qualifies for regionals and an athlete who is winning states?
So really the biggest mindset side to this, I would say, is what's different between the regional and a state level, like winner and or qualifier. I think the regional athletes I've seen, a lot of the ones at least I work with, they're a lot younger. They qualify for regionals. They watch these state winners go on, and they don't have that dream or aspiration quite yet. But over the years of watching what truly is the difference, a lot of those kids, once they realize they're only making it to regionals, say it's like that first year they've never done weightlifting before and they make it to regionals, they want to know what it's all about at state. You see them show up in the weight room more and more often. They're the athletes that are probably asking a lot more questions on that end. They're also the athletes that are trying to get to the next level. So that state qualifier, that state winner, was a kid that maybe only made it to regionals or saw that they needed more than just, I want to be satisfied with where I'm at here. I want to, say for instance, the goal is to win state. And I know for our program, we're pretty successful at trying to get athletes not only to state, but also to win state. A lot of them, there's a good pedigree that also comes up with that. So they all start asking the same questions on how I do this, and then keep showing up and getting better. And that's really the difference. It's just that person that continues to show up, continues to put forth the best effort and work, and finds a way to work a little bit more to keep increasing, even just slightly, their numbers every single time.
Are you finding that they're really dialed with their technique, or is it that they're just showing up more often?
Normally with those questions, they start dialing in their technique more. I think the ones that would win state, they have a lot more questions about maybe why they're missing lifts versus the regional person's why am I not going up in weight? Right? That's the biggest difference I've heard in questions. Why am I not going up in weight? And then it turns into, wait, why am I missing this lift? And those athletes that make it to state, they start honing in on, I really need to focus on the one lift in front of me versus, why am I not going up? So that is definitely a huge
Dude, that is the moment you said that, something clicked into my brain. It was just I could think of a few lifters that I know that always ask, why am I not doing, instead of asking, what do I need to do to get to that next level, right? It's so interesting. That is exactly that just clicked in my brain. That was really funny. Do you think that athletes need to be training year round to be qualifying or winning at states, or do you think that this is something that can still be done in season?
Well, I think of this like any other sport. There's in-season and off-season stuff. I know with the USAW, that's really important to me to try to have an in-season, off-season. I think with weightlifting, there's other more fun, monotonous things that you can do. You don't always have to snatch and clean and jerk. I was talking even with Calvin about doing some bench today. You get to have some fun. You can do other things. I think even the best in the world, I mean, we're taking a month off, taking 2 months off even from the Olympics. So I don't think it needs to be done year round, but I don't think you should be putting it off for, half a whole entire season, 6 months. I've heard some coaches say that they don't even open the gym up until the next 6 months for high school. and then you have a kid that hasn't done anything, that's really difficult.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that we found too, is just like you can train in season and you'll get better, but every time that we start the season back up again, like the first preseason, it is so rough because you're just trying to get back up to the level that you were at. Where this last season we started doing in-season practices and an off-season about a month beforehand. But then the rest of the entire year we do club practices, like USAW club practices, and that's worked really well for us.
Yeah, I feel like that age, like that high school age, it's so important to keep exposing them to, especially like the overhead positions, because you don't really get that from anything else. Most athletes don't, even if they play like what might be considered an overhead sport. The like specificity as far as weightlifting with snatch and jerk, like those positions can get really hard to get into
Mm.
if you're doing a bunch of other stuff instead of snatching or just even just doing overhead squats or snatch balances like once a week. Like the dose is probably pretty low to like maintain those qualities, but if you just go cold turkey and just like jam out on only bench press all summer and then come back and you're like, why is my snatch mobility so bad? Like, yeah, like I definitely see that. Like I feel like it doesn't need to be like a crazy amount of like snatching like 3 times a week or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. And even like if you are playing other sports, a lot of the time they'll have you doing lower body stuff. So I do see that often, like athletes who are playing other sports, their lower body does seem to still like progress pretty linearly throughout the whole year, even if they're not training all year, but their upper body stuff kind of stays limited. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of volleyball players off of my weightlifting team. I can tell you none of them suffer from being explosive.
Yeah.
Their lower body is very, very good. Matter of fact, I had a young lady. She's had like a little bit of an injury throughout like the season for volleyball. She comes in. She hasn't done anything overhead now, mind you, and her best all time was 100 pounds. And this is a very small female athlete, volleyball player, and she comes in and smokes 85. She has not done a single snatch
Hmm.
since for the last 4 months because she had a little bit of a shoulder injury. And I'm going like, well, there you go. See, she was using her legs. She's still moving. She's still. I think we sometimes forego like some of the athletic stuff these kids do. I won't even put an athlete day on a lot of my high schoolers because I already know they have an athlete day built for them. They're already doing something else. And I'm going,
Hmm.
okay, you're good, bro. Like, just do weightlifting when you get weightlifting, and those off days, I know you're already playing something.
For sure. Yeah, and so one thing I wanted to dive into today because I think that you're probably one of the best, if not the best, high school weightlifting coach in the state, especially when it comes to programming. I think you've got that locked down really well. So can we kind of dive in a little bit and maybe go over just what a week of programming looks like for you guys? Quick interruption of the video to tell you about the OlyStrong team. The OlyStrong team is my group coaching program designed to be affordable and effective. You'll get access to your choice of 3 or 5 days a week of proven programming, daily video feedback to improve your technique, and unlimited coach messaging to ask as many questions as you'd like, including the dumb ones. Most coaches charge hundreds per month in coaching fees, but I'm giving it to you guys for less than $30 a month. And you can try it for free for 7 days by scanning the QR code on the screen or clicking the link in the description below. All right, back to the video.
Like a week of training would look like we have a snatch day, main primary focus, where we will do all the position work. Start off with a primer, then we'll go hip, we'll go hang, and then we'll actually go floor. So very similar to what USAW has, but we'll also do a snatch deadlift and back squat. When we do all this in one session, they only train 3 days a week. So all of the coaches that are hearing me they only train 3 days a week at my program.
Wow.
And then we do a clean focus day, very similar to that, with some jerk form. So we'll start off, which I actually took this a little bit from Hassle Free Barbell Club on their stuff, is they'll do a clean from the power position. A front squat plus a military press. Because something I think watching my athletes move, there's a lot of shoulder instability on even the jerk. So we start off doing a front squat plus a military press. It doesn't get built up very heavy, only because you're going to front squat more than your military press, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then we'll go power position plus a push press. So we get to teach that movement. Then we'll go hang plus a power jerk, and we'll teach that movement. And then we'll go floor plus a split jerk. And we'll do
Hmm.
that, and we'll repeat that cycle about 4 or 5 times throughout the entire 3, 4, 5 weeks, and eventually that's kind of what it looks like. The last day is more strength building, so I will push a little bit more on like back squats, bench press, military press, stuff that's just more stabilizing for them on that third day. Plus, we bench in Florida, so that's also why we have the bench press kind of put there. But yeah, that's really like a setup whole day on how we do it.
So, so just to recap, that's um, 3 days a week. Snatch day, you're going to go with some sort of primer that's usually overhead focused, so like an overhead squat or a snatch balance or something like that. Behind the neck presses as well, and then positional work for the snatch. So starting with the hip, then from the hang, then from the floor. So kind of working on like basically adding complexity as they get their technique refined a little bit, and then as the weight goes up as well. And then some sort of strength exercise afterwards, a snatch, deadlift, and a back squat, or is it or?
No, it's both. At their age, I will say like something super easy for coaches to do. If you have a snatch max for them, or you know that they have taken it from their hip, let that be the deadlift. And if it can be pushed, push it more. It's not like crazy heavy for them to do. I think people sometimes freak out that like I've had this conversation with coaches before. They'll go, "You're deadlifting and squatting in the same day." Is like, yeah, I am. It's not crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a snatch deadlift. Like it's so limited by your upper back. It's not even close to like physically taxing as far as like gonna debilitate your squats. And also like if we're talking about young athletes, they're not even strong enough most of the time to create enough fatigue to not be able to squat well. You know what I mean? Like they're honestly like their Olympic lifts. They don't even it doesn't even tire them out. Like they'll do their Olympic lifts and then they can go in and squat like they're fresh. It doesn't really seem to change much from what I've seen at least. So then the next day, we've got cleans and strict press or front squat strict press, and then same kind of clean progression right from the hip with some work on the jerk, from the knee with some work on the jerk, and then from the floor with some work on the jerk. And then the day three is pretty much just strength work. That's an interesting approach. I hadn't thought about laying it out like that, but I like the idea of having, your strength on its own day. That's kind of very Paille focused approach. Actually, is kind of interesting there.
Yeah, I think what I also, in my mind, just like what you said, like the fatigue on these lists, especially with new lifters, they're not getting killed by a lot of this. Like
Mm-hmm.
we think if I write out like because I'll have like 7, 8 singles or doubles or triples, and that sounds like a lot. I mean, like I say 8 triples, and everybody's like crying, but like for these
Yeah.
little kids that I coach. I write 8 triples on the board. Like some of it might be bar work, some of it might be a little bit more, some of it just might be like me. I'm putting a number down so I know like how many reps have they done, and that's all I
Right.
really care on. Other except for the technique too, I care about that. But like I just don't want them like, all right, hey, I put 8 sets of 3, and then I write 75, 80% for a youth athlete that. Oh, fun other fact to this, just to bring up programming. I don't write percentages at all for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They're all just straight like, and I dare say even my middle schoolers I coach, they won't see probably percentages for like 12 weeks or more. So
Yeah, and I think that that's really reasonable. I think people get locked into percentage programming a little too early sometimes, especially with undertrained youth athletes, where they don't have an accurate one rep max. Percentages really mean nothing, and so I kind of do the same thing. Our programming will look like 10 sets of 2, and and then I'll go through and just say like this is supposed to be technique work. If and then I'll set like rules. So the rules for today are you cannot step forward or backward to save a snatch, or you must pause every snatch at the bottom, or on the clean, like you have to catch it on the first bounce. Different things like that. And so they know that they can't go heavier if they broke one of those rules, and they have to go lighter. And that has worked really well for me.
I like that. No, that's really fun. One I have done is snakes and ladders. Actually from Paille
Yeah.
too. I will say I've played this one a couple times with my kids, but one other one I've added in recently is literally like you can't go up unless your partner makes the weight, and that's something that I've watched a couple kids turn and encourage other people a little bit more. And I'm going, oh, so now this is more meaningful for that person because I held it against you.
That's really funny, dude. I would hate that if it was me and my training partner, but I'd also be like, you better make this lift. That's
Oh yeah,
funny.
I've heard that 100%. I've watched kids like turn like nice and slow. It's like, bro, please make this lift, like please.
That's cool. One thing I wanted to get into with programming that I've always found a little bit difficult with the high school season is how you guys structure your programming throughout the entire season. Which this is something I see a lot of other coaches maybe make some mistakes on. I know the first season that I coached with a high school team, we went a little too hard with our preseason meets, right? Like all of the meets leading up to districts, regionals, and states. So that by the time that we got to those, everybody was just pretty burnt out a little bit. Um, is that something that you find is a struggle for people, or do you try and like keep them a little bit more contained in those preseason? Obviously you want to win meets, but you don't want to like push yourself to the absolute maximum because then you're probably doing a meet every single week.
I think you have two fine lines. You work with so many new lifters in this sport for high school. Like a lot of them could just keep going up. Let's be really
Yeah.
honest. I think doing a meet for them is almost just them doing practice.
Right.
They'll sit there like if I have my babies keep going up like. Our big focus for everyone for at least the first three meets, unless I say something otherwise, is like, hey, we're going like 9 for 9 because we're not going 6 for 6. We got the bench press that's also included
Right.
in there. If you miss a lift, it better be because of like a technical issue, right? Like
Hmm.
the judge didn't say down, or you thought the judge said down, your butt came off the bench, something like that. You better be still making that lift. I know I've also even with the programming I run, that's still a conundrum because you have kids like I have my USAW kids that are chomping at the bit to send some weight. Like something I know even Aaron Denny and I had talked about is like, do you want to lift big weight now or later? Right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the philosophy you have. But I will admit, sometimes that's really hard as a coach. You sit there and go like, they're moving really good.
Yeah.
And I really want them to move this weight right now, too. So it's a
Hmm.
judgment call at the end of the day. I think as long as you're not trying to push within the last 4 weeks super hard right at districts, right? Like, because you have
Mm.
districts, regionals, and state. And if you have a state contender, you got 4 weeks of buildup that you can still get to for that district meet. That district meet should look like you're starting your peak. Like
Right.
that's really it. Like the district meet starts the peak, regional meet builds on that peak. You got a week off from state, and then there it is. That fourth week, there's your last one cycle. Hey, let's send this bad boy. Let's get this rolling.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something we've changed up this year as well with our season is having our more difficult preseason meets at the beginning of the season, so that we don't have to really like push all that hard, and then in those final 4 weeks we can actually start really the final 6 weeks before districts we can really start pushing and like building a lot.
Do you guys have a county meet?
No, we don't have a county meet.
So we have a county meet here that gets pretty big because there's six
Right.
schools within like 4-8 miles of each other. And I watch this happen a lot where kids will push at that meet so hard, and then all of a sudden they don't make those numbers at after
Yeah.
that because you have Christmas and those kids go disappearing, right? Like
Right.
everybody goes and just you're smiling because you know that
Dude, it's a
100%.
nightmare. I hate the way that the season is structured. It's like, all right, let's go ahead and do all of our season, and then let's take 3 weeks off and then compete.
And they
Yeah,
come back
I
and like,
hate it.
Coach, I think I'm in another two weight classes. Like, oh well, but it
Yeah, for
stinks, but it
real.
is. But like, I see them peak out actually at our county meet a lot, and then
Hmm.
once we get to like districts, you watch those kids struggling with the same numbers they just did at county, and they don't hit another PR. Like
Right.
it's rare that I've watched other people hit a PR in between that.
Yeah. So are you guys doing phases to your training with the programming throughout the whole season? Like, are you looking at like let's say like with our strength work, are you looking at hitting heavy sets of tens? At the beginning of the season, and then towards the end of the season, that's maybe triples, doubles, singles, something like that. Or is it a little bit more general?
No, that sounds actually pretty much on the tee. Like at the beginning of the season, we were trying to hit like eights and tens.
Yeah.
I'm a butthole. I actually put like 4 and 4 when I do squats. Like if you've looked at some of my Instagram stuff, I've made my kids pause 4 and squat 4.
Oof.
And I am a jerk for that, and I know that, and they'll love me saying that out loud on this podcast. But the thing that I did, I actually pulled this a little bit from Will Fleming, that like you kind of have an option to this, right? Like you can either give him sets of 10, or I can make that set of 8, just if not hard or harder at lower
Yeah.
percentages. And
Yeah.
I also see a lot of instabilities within the squat. Like a lot of them dive bomb them. They
Hmm.
like to just go up and down as fast as humanly possible. So I do a lot of variation with my squats at the front end, and then I'll pull it back about like I think we'll run a what is it, we have an exposure phase for like 3 weeks. So I use a little bit of Dane Miller's templates too on that exposure. Then we have a comprehension phase. So like they took a lot of volume, they take a lot more volume in the comprehension phase. The ascension phase, I kill them with volume. I mean, like they're getting a lot of it. Everything in the comprehension phase, they should know for the ascension phase. Meaning that like they might be still doing block work, but they're doing block work like a lot more and a lot heavier at that point. Then we get the summit phase, which is right about at districts. They have hit like the top part of this, and hopefully we get to that fun, beautiful realization phase where they now understands like, oh God, I can hit anything. Like I can take 96 and 97% of my max for an opener, and I can smoke that. I've smoked that almost all season, and lo and behold, they PR at state.
Let's go. Yeah, I mean that sounds about right then. So volume, 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 and then less volume.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not nothing's new.
With your like more advanced athletes, like those seniors or the kids that are doing a lot more USAW stuff, are you holding them back for a lot of those like in season meets? Because if they're take a girl that's snatching 70 kilos versus a girl that's snatching you know 30 kilos, like it's just a very different stimulus for their body. What are you doing different for like maybe a higher level athlete on the high school team compared to the more newbie little ones?
A quick interruption to the video to tell you about something we've been working on for a long time, the 10-week squat program. One of the reasons I've been able to make progress in my Olympic lifts so quickly is through my strength reserve. As an 88 kilo lifter, I've back squatted 230 kilos or over 500 pounds. While we don't compete in the squat, having an excess of squat strength allows me to get in more training in the Olympic lifts as they don't fatigue me as much. And of course, if you can't squat a weight, you're never gonna be able to clean it. So if you feel like the squat is what's holding you back, be sure to use code LASTSETPOD, all uppercase, at checkout to get a 20% discount on your program today.
So a lot of the higher level athletes on our team are actually part of my full send team. So I kind of have my structure for Coach Logic on them. They're really trying to hit their intensity modules that I have set up on there. Those are the ones that would have the percentages or RPE or things like that, which I'm actually having fun playing with with Coach Logic. They have like a smart RPE tool now with that. I will say I will hold them back. I know that was one of the questions. I will hold them back, and it kills me as much as it kills them to watch like someone go like really close to them, or they might even tie. I had one athlete tie at regionals, and she could have won, like 100% could have won. And I sat there, and she's like, "Why did you not let me go up?" It's like, because she peaked out, and you did not. You're about to smoke her when we go to state, and she did, by over like 30 pounds. So I'm like, there you go, because it doesn't matter at regionals, second place, third place. You're trying to get the state. The other side of it is it's a lot more. I think even from the athlete to athlete side, somebody smokes what you just struggle with, and you got one more meet against them. That is a really scary thought. That is not a fun position to be in.
That's true. That's kind of like that. You win it in the warm up area, or you win it in the like they talk about with wrestlers. Like you just want to be jacked as hell because you're gonna take your jacket off and boom, be popping out of the singlet. You almost win the meet before it even starts. It's kind of I like that approach, where you can almost just show the other athletes that like you didn't have to work as hard for the same thing that they just did, and it can kind of long term get in their heads a little bit. That's interesting. So with technique stuff, let's dive into that a little bit. What are some of the biggest technique errors that you're seeing at the high school level? Maybe not even just with your own team, but you're going to other competitions and you're seeing other high school teams competing. What are the big technique errors that you think people have to keep an eye on?
So, like, even starting with the snatch, although I think the clean and snatch will be about the exact same, there's a lot of rushing. Like, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've watched somebody rip or yank a bar off the floor. The hip flies up. You can almost tell, like, positionally, they're told you have to go fast. Like, you have to absolutely go fast through a lift. There's nothing wrong with slowly speeding the lift up, but there is something wrong with going so fast that then the bar slows down. I think from the ground, which that seems to be a lot of conversation I've had with other coaches. They've sent me videos of their athletes, and I try to help where I can. A lot of times it's just watching the hip fly up, but that could be two things. The first one, which I think is pretty typical, they're not used to pulling from the ground, and they need to probably pull from the ground a little more. I think some of these coaches, just because of the conversation we had, they'll keep them in like hang positions because they'll do really good in those. Like I'll be honest with you, I think as Americans we probably do pretty darn good for the hang side of stuff. We just do. But I mean, even looking at the old models, we were taught with that with going like top down, so the hang looks a lot better. But as soon as they get to the floor, like everybody's scared. Like sometimes they push their knees too far back in a pull. Sometimes they're all their weight's in their heels, like every bit of it. So from the ground, it's watching the toes, watching foot pressure. That's if I could give any coach like an advice from watching like they're starting from the ground, watch their foot pressure. Their foot pressure is like their belly button in sports. It's gonna tell you what's gonna happen in that lift. If they're gonna loop a bar, their toes come up and then they're gonna kick it forward. If the heel comes up, they're about to jump forward no matter what. I have not seen too many athletes where the heel's up at the knee and they jump backwards because they're already in front of the bar super far. So like if anything is just like a lot of technical flaw in the foot pressure is probably what I would go at for the clean and the snatch. For the jerk, I like this cue if I need to use it, like, but telling an athlete lunging forward and telling them head through is probably not the best one you could use. I've watched kids like stick their head physically down as they're driving and jumping forward. Whereas they should have driven the bar up and back or slightly back or behind your ears. And then, yeah, get the head throw all you want. Like that, like I said, it's not a terrible cue. I think it's just misinterpreted, and that's the big one I see for the jerk itself is the jump forward, the short, because it creates a short step. They're running forward to try to save it. And then I know, like, for my own side of things, I mentioned it earlier. I just think a lot of kids rush to get under the bottom of things, at least from when I'm coaching through my technique stuff. So I will make them catch it in a parallel squat and then ride it the rest of the way down. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, even the power jerk, like, I'll have them pause it. Like, I'll pause in the catch. Not just pause in the dip, but pause in the catch. Because that technical flaw is they're jumping backwards or forwards trying to push weight. So, and that's the foot pressure stuff I'll go right back to.
Yeah. So let's break those down, Roy. In the snatch and the clean, foot pressure seems to kind of be the biggest issue, especially with the first pull. What are the things that you guys are doing to correct that?
So those snatch deadlifts, clean deadlifts. If you're not pulling it in that some shape, form, or fashion, tempo. So things that are slower, like even slower than you normally pull it. I don't do a lot of no footwork for youth athletes. I used to and realized that it was just really difficult. I think that actually it seems like a common consensus. No footwork seems very difficult for youth athletes to understand. That's really mostly it, because a lot of those pertain to foot pressure. I think it was rare. I've used plates underneath heels or underneath the midfoot on several of my athletes, but I think that's when conceptually they were having a really hard time, so I gave them something tactile to kind of feel. But I have them do like deadlifts off of it. I'm not gonna have them snatch off of it. We won't be snatching off any Bosa balls or anything like that. So. And
then you mentioned pausing in the jerk for both the power jerk. Are you guys pausing in the dip? You guys pausing in the split as well?
Yeah, we'll pause like to kind of teach and then slowly move a little bit faster. We'll pause it in the dip. will tempo it, which I actually
Mhm.
pulled from you guys because I usually just did pause and I just went regular.
Dude, I have started using the tempo so much more with athletes. The tempo jerk. It is, and I know Greg Everett hates that. Sorry, slow dip jerk. And I love doing that. Like a 2 second dip really helps people figure out just how much more they need to use their legs. You know?
Well, and even the other side of it is, I think with the tempo, which is something that I've had to talk with a couple athletes, if they're gonna rush something, they're probably rushing the dip.
Yeah.
Um, and if you can actually go slower and make the lift instead of going so fast, why would you?
It's because they panic. That's honestly it. Is
Yeah.
they panic and then they try and get the jerk over with instead of like staying actively engaged in it and like really loading up.
I kind of like what you said about the hangs versus the fulls, or like from the floor. Because I think that's something, like looking back on like when I started weightlifting, Trent over here at Lindenwood, I basically did no hang snatch or hang clean work like at all. I did everything. Everything was from the floor for a very long time. And I do think that was pretty beneficial. And I think I got a lot of work in on my foot pressure and learning how to navigate the knee. I think like learning what to do with the knee is pretty hard. It's probably the hardest thing when it comes to the pulling side of things. And yeah, like I think that contributed a lot to using better foot pressure and getting improving that technique over time compared to if you hid that by doing really heavy hangs. I'm sure I could have loaded up some really heavy hang lifts, but would it have mattered? Like, would that transfer to competition at all? Like, not really.
Now a good one that might be beneficial for a lot of high school lifters is low hang, going below the knee, or even a hang all the way down to touch the floor and then go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like a literal touch and go or hover or something along that line.
right.
I think realistically, whatever way you do or teach it, as long as you can put emphasis that the floor is gonna be the biggest and most important thing out of this, because like even what Calvin just said, which
Hmm.
I've seen this before, and I'll get CrossFit athletes, and you guys will too get CrossFit athletes with this. They'll say they can hang more than they can do something from the floor. Well, okay, what are
Yep.
they normally doing? They're doing everything from the hang. They will tell you they feel good from the hang. They're confident from the hang. I mean, like, if I hang snatch 200 kilos, awesome. Why would I take it ever from the floor? So,
Right.
but in regards to that, like, then for those athletes, which I haven't done in a minute because I'm using a lot of baby youth, halts are fantastic to
Yeah, like a
literally have
1 inch
you
pause off the
pause.
floor.
Yeah, pause off the floor after the knee to get that navigation of the knee, what Calvin was talking about, because that can get sticky. Because sometimes I'll talk to the kids about, hey, your knees do got to come back under a little bit. Like you can't just RDL it. And
Hmm.
um, but the sound that bar makes when they do that is drastically different. And that was something I actually showed them in my lift versus I had a bar where I intentionally tried to not put my knees under the bar, and it looks very similar as a snatch, but the bar doesn't make the same sound. It
Hmm.
almost makes like a quick tap and go, versus when it actually transitions, there's this ringing sound that sounds really good. It's not like a smacking out either.
What I'm curious to know with things outside of the gym, outside of the weight room, what do you find is the separator? Like, do you see your athletes who are state level and beyond, like really dialing in with their nutrition and their recovery stuff, or is it something you still have to fight athletes on?
I think that's well, so using working with youth athletes up to juniors. I think it's a continual talk. I don't even know if I would say that like there's just a continual conversation to it. It's not. I have a couple athletes that yeah, like if they want to be better, they're gonna have to dial things down. It boils down to the importance of what that is for them, and in moments like it might sound really good to go do your own thing and go out and have a fun time and go out to Halloween and eat all the candy you want. Fantastic, that sounds wonderful. But if you have a Saturday training that's about to get absolutely waylaid by this, the thing that I would normally conversate to that is you better not come up and tell me that you're really that upset about training when you stayed out till 2 o'clock looking for Halloween candy and eating all of the Halloween candy. Like I get you're a kid, but you can't just say that's gonna be okay. at one point.
And I think that the important part about that is like, yes, it's okay to be a kid and go do the Halloween stuff, but it's also a good teaching moment to say like this is a choice that you will have to face the decision of later, right? And so it gets them to start to be more aware of if they do go and eat a bunch of candy and a bunch of junk food and they stay up super late and they don't get good sleep and then they've got training the next day, they feel bad. Like they don't feel good. And that's almost a good thing for a lot of athletes, especially the ones that are starting to take things a little bit more seriously, because then they can see how much worse their training is when they don't take care of themselves, you know? And that's kind of a good thing. You almost have to have a negative reinforcer there.
Well, I mean, it's the phone thing too. Like, you can literally talk about how like you stay up on your phone and it drains you like mentally over doing that.
Yeah.
And I think I can't remember which study had it, but like it's like it almost desensitizes you to how fatigued you are until you are tired in the moment, and you
Yeah.
realize that you're not even actually tired. Your brain's just been firing on all cylinders the whole time, and it's been craving
Right.
stimulus.
Yeah, exactly. Your heart's just been racing watching TikTok for 2.5 hours. And that's me. That's me.
Yeah, yeah. Stay off Instagram reels. Those are terrible too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of the diet thing, I want to give a shout out to two of your athletes who showed up to our morning training camp with Chick-fil-A, fried chicken sandwiches and fried chicken nuggets, and we're scarfing those down like about probably 10 minutes before we started warming up. So
I was like, if I did that right now, I would throw up. I would not be able to even like move a bar. Which I don't know if that does that make me the weaker lifter here? I don't know.
No, even before my meet, like, so I got to compete with the kids over at one of Joey's meets. They were all going like, "Hey, we're gonna go to Chick-fil-A. What do you want?" It's like an egg white sandwich. Like,
Yeah.
please, that's all I want. And they're like, "You don't want it? You don't want like a fries?" Like, no, I really don't. I'm not gonna
I
be
want
able to
I want
operate.
2 grilled chicken patties, please. And that's it. And a fork. That'll be fine.
Fruit, throw some fruit in there. I'll be all right. Like that sounds good to me. And
That's really funny. That I've had
yeah,
that exact same experience at one of Joey's meets.
that's actually funny.
the question to me is like, like, would you rather these kids like eat nothing at all before a morning training session? I deal with that with some of our Lindenwood people, because we'll have a Saturday morning training every week, and it's very, very common. These everybody
Yeah.
wants to wake up, 20 minutes before training and just stroll right in.
Yeah.
Um, versus somebody who's eating like trash like the directly before training. It's like, I mean, I guess at least you're eating. I don't know.
My general rule with nutrition for athletes, especially for younger ones, is like, first of all, like blanket statement, anything is better than nothing. Like just flat out. If I could really get that drilled into their brain, like that does seem to help. And then once we have that down, then it's like, okay, maybe we can do a little bit of planning ahead. And once a week, you go and buy a bunch of protein bars and you keep them in your backpack because I know that you're nauseous in the morning when you leave. And that's like 50% of our high school team. They're all like, I don't eat anything in the morning because I'm too nauseous. And I'm like, okay, you got to wake up earlier. Honestly, that's what it is. Um, but then like you just need to have stuff on you so that you can eat before practice because otherwise I know you don't eat school lunch. So you've had nothing for breakfast, nothing for lunch, and you come in for practice and you're like, why do my squats feel heavy? It's because you're running on your own, like you're running on fumes. You've got nothing in the tank. I mean, eat an almond, please, like something. It's
You know,
so bad.
I find though, like some of the kids that have a hard time eating breakfast. I'm not saying that this is normal for everybody, but some of them are a lot more like lactose intolerant, and I don't know if there's
Yeah.
something that goes with that. Like when I say
I
that, I
mean,
mean
yeah.
I'm going okay. Like, can you eat something else other than that? And they're like, I just can't stomach anything else, and I'm lactose intolerant. And I'm going, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time it's like people will have like digestive issues like GERD or something like that, and it's really bad when you wake up in the morning. But then if you wake up and you have time to be awake for a little while to let your stomach settle before you try and go to school, like you'll feel a lot better. And maybe that just means that you eat a protein bar at school, after first period or something when your stomach's settled down a little bit or something. But doesn't mean like your only options aren't eat before you leave for school or don't eat at all. Like do a little bit of planning ahead is so helpful.
Yeah, I think the biggest recommendations like I make to people like yeah, like you said, Brian, like as far as just getting something in. Like you got to eat breakfast, guys. Like even if you have training in the afternoon, you got to eat breakfast. If you want to have good training over the long term, just higher quality average training. Uh, but I always recommend like fruit juice because that's like just super easy. You get 150, 200 calories in right away. Just drink a cup of juice. And I mean, juice is pretty palatable. Like most people can get that down. Like
Yeah.
maybe orange juice would give some people some like stomach problems in the morning, but I mean, hey, orange juice is a morning drink. Um, and then like those like easy on the go like snack items, especially if they lean a little bit more on like the healthier side, like a applesauce kind of packet or something like that, like the go-go squeezes, any kind of like little breakfast bar thing,
Hmm.
is just great to get carbs in. And then hopefully something with protein. I mean, geez, guys, like we gotta be getting in something. Um, and I mean, a
That's
protein
right.
shake is just super easy to throw in there in the morning. Although, I mean, some people might have trouble getting it down. I think it just comes down, especially at like that more youth level or that
Yeah.
even at the college age kind of stuff. Like the people that care enough are gonna do it. If you tell
Yeah.
them at least like once or twice, they're gonna start doing it. You can't put too much effort into those kids that just are like, if you told them like, hey, you really need to not eat Chick-fil-A before training, like I've seen you doing that like all the time, like, or like here's maybe a better option. Think about this, and they just don't care at all. Like it's not worth putting in more time into it, most likely.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, anybody listening, you're not winning states on 25 grams of protein a day. Like you gotta get those numbers up.
and to throw onto this, like to make it almost as if, hey, this is important to do all those realms. I actually this happened with a kid this week. I mean, this is why it just pops into my head, right? Exact same thing. Kid didn't eat breakfast. Kid was super tired. We're watching the session that she's doing, and it looks like she has no legs in any of her lifts that she's doing stuff. And at first, like, hey, you gotta actually push with your legs more. Like, I really need to see you extend a little bit longer, something. And finally, she goes, Coach, I haven't eaten breakfast or lunch or anything else. Like, well, your first cue is now to eat breakfast and lunch. Like, as I mean, like, that's that, I'll say something funny to this, but like, if as a coach, even listening to this too, if you want to know the perfect cue to give somebody, eat. Like, tell them to actually eat because you fighting someone that is not nourished enough to do lifting, that is the first cue that they should be hearing is they gotta eat. And
Hmm.
that's just like internally life stuff. Like you can't function without eating. So
Yeah, for real. I mean, it's such a big difference. Let's kind of dive into some Team USA topics because you have one of the high school coaches in Florida who has an athlete on Team USA. You guys have competed internationally 3 times now. What's been the process like to go from competing in a high school weightlifting meet to doing a local competition to now you're traveling to South America? What's that like? What's going on? Quick interruption of the video to announce our newest project, the Competition Strong Team on Train Heroic. If you're an intermediate lifter competing or planning to compete on the national circuit, this is the program for you. You'll get access to proven programming, daily video review, and coach messaging for $39 a month. Just click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen for a free week trial today. All right, back to the video.
Um, well, I think the first time around to this, I was panicked like anybody else would have, and going like, "Oh my gosh!" Like we are going across the water to do something that is only going to take 6 attempts, and we're done. So,
Yeah.
um, I think what's cool is though, no matter if it's high school, no matter if it's a local level meet, no matter if it's nationals, the international meets we've done, they all start with the word, or at least have the word meet in it. So like you have a set way or parameters that you're going to do something. I think what's cool is that I've seen all of those processes. I got to actually see the ground level to this of a high school sport for this athlete. I've got to see what the ground level is from a local meet, their first ever local meet. I got to watch them lift and do things, coach them at their first national meet, where they were third and they weren't even on the radar for Team USA side of it, which was cool. And then increase their total by over like 40 kilos from one year to the next to get to that first time she makes Team USA, to we talked about this, like, man, we just want to keep battling it out and trying to keep moving this total up little by little, like just 1 kilo at a time and keep fighting for it. And watching where the process went from like, it was a little panicky to the first meet to I watched her at Peru do something that most athletes struggle with. They miss their opener. And that's never fun. And I got to watch where she could have collapsed and just said, I don't want to do this anymore. And turns around and I kind of watched her become like that international challenger. Like she looked like a competitor. It's like, oh, she makes her second, makes her third. We're in this. Let's get going. But I think as a Team USA person, like just to watch like from all those levels, it's just really been a blessing. It's been fun. It's been panicky. It's been checking totals every 5 seconds and looking at rankings. But yeah, it's been a blast. I've got to meet a lot of cool people over this too. So
Yeah, that's awesome. How does it work? How does it work to get somebody from, a national level weightlifting meet to making Team USA? What did you guys have to do? Like, what was the totals that you guys needed to hit? How did you guys go about it? This is probably something that a lot of people who are listening, maybe they're interested in, but aren't quite sure what the process is like, especially if they don't have a USA weightlifting coach.
okay, so one thing is that you do need to do your anti-drug course that is on USA. That is the first priority to do anything.
Yeah.
You can't even register for a meet usually without that for nationals.
Hmm.
But the idea is that you'd have to go to a national event where you're trying to put up at the bare minimum the B standard to be recognized. And the B standard, it comes off of like this tip-top score from the open all the way down to like they make their percentages for the youth, the junior, and the senior level lifters. And that's how they're trying to come up with their Olympians that they'll eventually hopefully host for the country. Even if you make that B standard, that guarantees you that you're just on a list, but doesn't mean you're going to be in a spot. You have to hit a certain percentage of the A standard and be top 8 out of that. Two people underneath them, so for 10 spots will be alternates. So if something goes wrong, they have athletes that can change in. But you have to make, like for Kenzie's was 175 for her B standard that we made. Originally, I think it was 168 or something like that for her first time, but it wasn't a B standard. It was the NRS. It was different.
Hmm.
We've just had to keep increasing that standard deviation up until like if you hit the A standard, now you're over. A good information for a lot of female sides of this and the male side. At least for the females, you had to have almost 100% of the A standard to make Team USA, and that's huge. Like to say like, hey, they made a standard, and in the first year we had over 8 athletes that
Hmm.
were almost all 100% or just underneath it. That's tough. That
Yep.
means that like it was a close battlefield. For the guys, it's like around 95 to 96%. So hopefully we can push those guys up. We'd like to see them, get more up there for the B standard side of it to the A standard. And the process after that is making sure that USADA and everything is correct. They have to have their whereabouts, which is super easy. And actually, I've had a couple coaches reach out to me. I'll be glad enough to say it. If you ever need help with it, I'll be glad enough to do that with y'all. It's not a very fun process, but it's not. It's a process you don't have to mess up now. There was other forms way back that were really crappy, but this one's like does a really good job now for it.
Nice. That's good. So essentially, it's try and hit the B standard that's provided by USA Weightlifting. Anybody that's listening that wants to figure this out, just look up USA Weightlifting B standard 2025, 2026, whatever year you're listening to this. Hit that B standard first, right? That's the first goal. Then the next goal is to get the highest possible percentage of the A standard um, that will put you in the top 8. Is that the top 8 in the weight class, or is that top 8 across all weight classes?
Top 8 across all weight classes overall. They used to give us the recommendation try to be top 2 in your weight class.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, like I would almost just say like you need to be at least top 8 overall. Because
Right.
there are some weight classes. Matter of fact, the 69 kilo youth weight class was exactly that this year that we were
Hmm.
competing against in. There was 4 possible athletes that could have made that standard in that weight class
Dang,
in the
that's crazy.
exact same session. And I'm
Wow.
sitting here as a coach going, oh man, I had other coaches tell me, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I wouldn't want to be in your position. I started laughing. I'm
Yeah.
going, um, but I don't know. I'm a 4th and 1 kind of guy. I like that kind of stuff. I love that type of pressure, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm mental at some point, but that's just me.
No, I think good athletes and good competitors really like getting into some of those higher pressure situations because you get to rise to the occasion a little bit. And especially if you've been training really hard, you will be able to rise to that occasion. And then other people who don't like those situations, I think that they fall to the level of their training and they haven't trained hard enough, or maybe they're just not ready for it quite yet, or something along those lines, or maybe it's just a bad day. Could be that too. Um, so then you guys made Team USA. When was the first weightlifting, like international weightlifting meet that you guys had?
When, oh gosh, 2024
Which meet was this?
Youth Pan Am. I think we hit 175 as a total, if I remember right. We were really close to a medal. We were really close to a medal on that one. That was a really bummer on that. It was like we actually missed it on her last snatch. I was like, oh, wonderful. But it is what it is.
Hey, you took the attempt, right?
Yeah, I mean, I sat her and I looked there. I was like, kiddo, we're not taking 80. We're taking 81. Like, I just
Yeah,
letting you know that, like
yeah.
that. And she's like, no, 100%. I agree with that. But yeah, so Guayaquil, Ecuador was our first one. I want to say it was 2024. It might have been 2023. I might be wrong. Um, no, it's got to be 2024. Because
Yeah.
then we did Worlds for Peru, which was the next meet. That was just recent. And now we're doing Pan Ams again for Mexico in St. Louis, if I remember right.
Nice. Nice.
So that's it's been quite a journey of South America that I didn't think I was going to be taking other than on a cruise.
Dude, South America, I love South America. It is beautiful. I would move there in an instant. It is just the empanadas, man. The empanadas.
I will say, I know we were talking about the team stuff. Failed to
Yeah.
mention that they're separate as the national training program. So there are two
Okay.
different things that can happen. That B standard / A standard can help with some other stuff too.
Hmm.
Say you don't make a team, but you are top 25 out of the junior and youth level athletes. They put you on what's called a developmental program, and you could possibly get some rides to Colorado and actually learn from these coaches. I got that experience with Sean Rigsby, with Mike Gatone, with Jackie, with pretty much all of Team USA, which was really cool. But like the objective, which I do appreciate this a lot because Mike has taken a lot of good time to think about this. He's trying to create a good program where because there's going to be a transition stage for these athletes. I think we've all talked about how like after youth, junior levels, people just drop off really hard.
Hmm.
And they built that side of it to help those athletes where we can all kind of have this discussion and talk about like, hey, maybe they just need a year of developing and they can get right back on the next team. Well, let's give
Right.
them resources to do that. Let's see if we can make a camp or two that they come out with, stuff like that.
That's really cool. I actually really like that. I mean, that makes sense because I think that youth to junior drop off is rough, and then that junior to senior drop off is really tough. So if you've got really good advanced athletes who maybe aren't quite capable of making a team, but they just need that training time, right? Maybe they just need a year where they're not trying to do 3 international meets in a year or something like that, or 3 high level meets a year, where they can build up a good base of training. Having a developmental year for athletes where they're getting some resources from the coaching staff, maybe getting a little bit of funding, or at least making it easier to qualify and compete at nationals, things like that, is a really good idea. I really like that a lot. Do they have the same thing for between junior to senior as well?
I think I don't know. I won't want to say like there's one thing there. I know they have the bronze level, which is usually
Yeah.
those athletes from junior to like open. They're not quite to stipend level, but they can get a
Hmm.
lot of good things from that. I do know that anybody on the NTP side, they waive their national fee, so like they don't pay to be at national since they've earned that right that they are listed as a top 25 athlete or more. I think the other side of the developmental program, which this is going to happen with some athletes transitioning from youth to junior, you might have some really good juniors in weight classes where you have this youth that they're not going to compete against them right now. Like, it's just not going to happen because they might have too many kiddos already in that weight class. And I think that
Hmm.
was the other thought to this too. They're going, okay, well, say you have two really good 77s. I'm going to use that weight class as just an example. Because I remember Ella Nicholson and Grace are on that same exact weight class, and I'm assuming this is, again, I'm not saying they're doing this, but if Grace and Ella are in that weight class, any youth going up and they're 77, they're not lifting next year. It's gonna take a minute, like, because both of those young ladies are fantastic athletes. They're 20 years old. They are going to be pushing some good weight, and it's kind of hard to turn to the 17 turning 18-year-old. Okay, catch up, right? You're not going to do that. Like,
Right.
they'll have that whole development year to get better, and that's what I kind of like about how they established this program a little bit. And that's
I like that.
probably one of the thoughts they had in it too, that could be a possible thing that it happens.
What's it been like working with the national team coaches like Sean and Mike? What kind of support are they doing for you guys? Are they doing like coaches education? Are they doing work with the athletes? Like what kind of support are you guys getting from them?
So they break it up between Jackie Black, Sean Rigsby, and Mike Gatone. Each of them are assigned athletes. So what
Okay.
that means is we'll have like a quarterly call where like we're checking in, we're submitting videos via Dartfish. That's the program that they use to collect information and data from. Jackie's been a really good help. I mean, I've messaged her several times, even outside of our conversations. She doesn't mind giving input. I think majority all of them are wanting to give input. That's the
Hmm.
cool part. Like,
That's
I
cool.
haven't felt where when I was at camp with them, like I was asking questions like crazy because I mean, there's my opportunity to ask lots of questions.
Right.
And they didn't turn down, whether it was a silly question or not, they didn't turn it down. Like,
Yeah.
and I think for them, because USA weightlifting is just really, really huge, this is like the start of something better later on. I
Hmm.
feel that there's probably more coming in the future to this, just because they like doing it a lot. I think it's just
That's
going to
good.
be what the OTC can provide money wise, because some things people may not understand is that there is a certain amount of money that the Olympic training centers, or at least the for America, give to these programs. If they're not succeeding, they won't get that money. Like, it's pretty evident. Like, if it's not something that's being pushed well, like the reduction happens.
Mm.
I think for what Mike and a lot of them, just even talking about statistically wise, they're on an upswing with a lot of the stuff. So this hopefully turns into that, hey, we're doing really good. Can we get a little more help? Absolutely. Okay, cool. And then eventually kind of spirals up. I think this is why you watch like USA Swim be as good as it is, because they're getting a lot, but
Mm.
they're also producing a lot
Right.
too.
That's really interesting. So maybe this will kind of end up leaning towards more having more like because I don't think that the OTC the way that it used to work would work now, would in a way because I think that just our the United States is just so big and it's so fragmented that it almost works better for our kind of like a, our society approach to have things work where people are more decentralized and can be wherever is cheap for them to live or close to family or close to their coach who they really like working with and gets them great results. They can stay with them but then still get support from the Olympic Training Center in different ways, and maybe that's with really high level coaches overseeing some of the coaching that's being done by other coaches. So maybe we'll start seeing more like regional coaches or something along those lines. And maybe regional isn't the way to do it. Maybe it's just based on where your ranking is in the NTP program. And that makes a lot of sense. So maybe we've got like just the highest level, Olympic coach is working with everybody who's on that gold tier, right? And then the next level down is the B tier, or the silver, and they're working on really doing a great job with developing some of these, younger up and coming athletes to be high level athletes. I like this approach. I think this is going to work really well. We should reach out to Sean and see if he can come onto the program.
Oh yeah,
I think
he
that'd be
he'd be
cool.
yeah, he would be fantastic. I mean, as cool as like I've had a couple conversation with the last like day or two just to like some input and stuff like that. And like I told you earlier, Brian, and I sent it to you. He's got like the American Strength Ratio that he's kind of come up with on that, which is cool. And I think it was also part of Project Guardrail that they're running right now, which is like kind of a little bit more information to that. That's going to end up being like, what are the typical patterns when you see like the force output velocity of certain athletes, the bar path, the stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it's really cool because they're gaining a lot more information to this. We're like, okay, like here's the bottom quartile, here's the top, and then like who's not saying who's Olivia Reeves, but like who's trending like that, right?
Hmm.
Like it kind of becomes the NBA 2K thing where it's like, man, it projected to possibly be that,
Yeah.
right? Like that. I think it's really cool the project that they're working on with that. I wish I had more information that I knew more about it, but I just watched it with like my athletes videos, and it kind of gave us an idea what looked like. Like she pushes out one of the highest output powers, which is wonderful. She's explosive. There's some control factors that we need to work on, right? Like that's what it ends up helping us with too. But yeah, it's a cool program. I think hopefully, yeah, definitely reach out to Sean on that end. I love it. And I think those guys are honestly doing a fantastic job, and I hope it keeps growing the way it is.
It sounds really interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to learn more about this guardrails project because I mean, it sounds like they're essentially just doing like um, in-depth data collection on athletes when it comes to not just the programming, but their like power outputs and different things like that. Is that true?
Yeah, we had the jump tests that we did along with oh gosh, it was jump test, the counter jump, and then we had they did a bar path analysis with Dr. Kip. Hopefully, I said that right.
Hmm.
He and that might be actually more. And now I think about it, that might be actually more his project than it is Sean's. If I misquoted that, I'm really sorry. But they definitely one that like they are definitely doing some cool things with a lot of this information. This is the stuff that like as a mad scientist, but also you like weightlifting, is gonna be really fun to see at the end of it.
I'm excited to hear more about this for sure. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of that research, there's a lot of potential there if they like put it in the hands of kind of the right people. Um, yeah, I think connecting like people in academia to some of that data is probably a more important thing for them to focus on. I feel like there's a lot of people that would want to comb through that data, or just publish something with it.
And I think also just important too is just collecting the data and then drawing some sort of conclusions that they can share with coaches. Like, hey, we found that at the youth to junior level, we see that almost everybody has to work on their bar path in the snatch or something along those lines. And so here's what we would recommend. Or maybe that's with strength stuff. Maybe they're finding that athletes are really, really strong squatters, but they have really terrible weak pulls. And so you guys clearly seem to be underdoing the pulls, or maybe it's upper body, lower body strength. I'd love to find out some more data on that so that they can help these um, maybe younger coaches, younger athletes just close the gap a little bit based on what they're seeing at each of these levels. I think that'd be really interesting.
I know Dr. Kip does some pretty cool stuff, so I'm sure we'll see some cool things come out of his, I guess, like research initiatives that he's focused on. He does a lot with throwing too, so.
Yeah, man. He's like killing it. I mean, he was at Worlds, and I'm sure like everybody would love to just like have this man do this for their country instead of him going everywhere. But like
Yeah.
he does. I mean, like he's research. I mean, he'll go everywhere. I think he's been requested a lot between the Olympic throwing, and also with just weightlifting. And man's in business. That's all I can say.
Awesome, dude. All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming onto the podcast. Where can people find out more about what you're doing and get in touch if they want to work with you as a coach?
Yeah, you can actually find me at on Instagram as FullSendOly. You can look it up. It's really easy to find in the hashtags and whatnot. If not, just email me at fullsendoli@gmail.com. I'll be glad enough to help you out more, and let's get better. That's it.
Sweet. Calvin, where can people find you?
At Calvin Lackey, 81 kg on everything.
And you guys can find me at Big Ben Strength on everything. We will catch you guys next week. Bye.
If you found this video helpful, then make sure to check out this video here, or this episode of the Last Set, Best Set podcast.